Started today with our message from Living Spring.
Welcome to the Spiritist Society of Richmond.
Thank you.
Today from Living Spring, Chapter 21, Greatness. The lesser is blessed by the greater. From Paul, Hebrews 7:7. In any activity in life, there are those who reach natural greatness amongst their relatives, friends, and contemporaries. There are those who are great because of their knowledge, virtue, or competence. In general, however, those who are elevated to any level of superiority usually use their status to neglect their debt to regular people. Those who become financially great often become avaricious. Those who stand out as scientists become conceited. And those who come into power embrace vain pride. However, the law of life does not allow for exclusivism or separatism. According to the divine principles, all true progress is to become a blessing for the whole community. Nature itself offers sublime lessons in this regard. A tree grows to bear fruit. A spring grows to benefit the soil. If you have grown in experience or have reached a higher position of some kind, remember fraternal communion with all. The sun, with its rays of light, does not abandon the muddy cavern or scorn the worm. Growth is power. Mind how you use the advantage you have been given in life. The greatest spirit of all, those who have ever been born, accepted offering the ultimate sacrifice in order to help all unconditionally. Do not forget that according to the divine statute, the lesser is blessed by the greater. From the book Living Spring.
Thank you. After the reminder from Emmanuel, let's go and pray. So feel free to close your eyes if you feel comfortable, find a comfortable seat. Dear Mother, Father God, we are so thankful to be here today. We are so blessed with the opportunity of study and of service. We are so blessed by the presence of our friend Alba and her friend Jeanette, for the collaboration between the many Spiritist centers on the earth, and for the presence of those who will be the new generation spreading your good news. We ask you, Lord, for the presence of the mentors and guides of our center, who lovingly care for us, providing us with an environment of protection and of healing to all of us. We pray for those who are unable to join us tonight, for those who have their names in the book of prayer, and for those who in the future be with us, working, serving the Christ in many ways. We pray for the mentors, inspirations to our speaker, as we learn and celebrate the women who came before us in Spiritism. We pray that the youth can be blessed and guided as they learn with Ben Franklin today. With eternal gratitude for this opportunity and asking for the protection that only God can provide us. And with His permission, we begin our studies today. And so be it. Friends, now our youth will take their place in their beautiful study room, and then we'll see them back later so they can have a good time with Ben Franklin. See you soon. It's not bad. It's a see you soon. All right. Aren't we blessed? This infusion of youth in our lives. And it's so joyful to be here today with the ones who are here in person and the ones who are in the spiritual realm. And this shows the dedication of the workers everywhere. We hope to have this many years of collaboration between us and the SSP, because after all, my journey in Spiritism started at SSP when I was in Baltimore and I met Alba and Jeanette and Danielle in the group. So it always comes full circle. Whatever we do, we're planting the seed. And we hope that not only we can learn today, but we can grow together in the future. And no matter what, this is the true inspiration that brings tear to our joys of the workers such as Alba and Jeanette, who no matter what's happening, tropical storm or not, they drive and they persevere. And we're truly thankful for you to be here today. So Alba is going to talk to us about celebrating women in Spiritism, because we know, we talk about the main workers, as we know, are Kardec, Leon Denis, Gabriel Delany, Chico Xavier, Divaldo, Manuel, André Luiz, all male figures in this lifetime, right? Because we know we could have come back. And there's behind the scenes, there's a lot of women that worked out that we don't necessarily talk about very much, even though we love Joana, Yvonne Pereira. So hopefully we'll learn a lot with Alba today. So I'll give you a little introduction about Alba. Aside from this eternal friend that we meet on this life together, but professionally, Alba has a bachelor's degree in psychology and pedagogy from, I want to butcher this, Universidade Pedagógica Nacional, and a master's degree in education from Pontificia Universidade Javeriana, both institutions from Bogota, Colombia. She has been working in education for more than 32 years, and it shows because she's lovely with the children. Been involved in different age groups, working in workshops, classes, and conferences. Currently, she works as a school and community liaison specialist for Anne Arundel County Public Schools in Maryland, and as a consultant for Immigrant Connections, supporting educators and organizations. She has been an active member of the Spirit Society of Baltimore since 2006 as a Spiritist educator responsible for the education of children and the adults, and as a lecturer in Spiritism in Baltimore and elsewhere. So, because nobody's here to listen to me talking, I want to pass the word and welcome Alba to our talk today. Yes, dear. It's okay. We'll work it out. There's some here if you need. Easy. And I'll be down here with you. Not a big.
Allergies are.
Yes, it's hard in here. Thank you. Right. So, okay. Make it small, bigger. This one is working now. Look. Okay. If you want this one as well.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? Okay. A little bit high. Okay. We are so happy to be here. We are blessed to be here, to feel this beautiful environment, to feel the company of the good mentors, the good spirits. Probably we are few in the physical realm, but this room is packed with brothers and sisters from the spirit realm. And as Sachet mentioned, why we are bringing a presentation about celebrating women in Spiritism. Well, yes, it is because we focus a lot of on male authors, although in Spiritism we know we can interchange our bodies like we change clothes, right? In one lifetime we are a man, and in the other we are a woman, and so on and so forth. but also because this is a dear topic for me. In the sense, like historically speaking, women, we have been relegated from the public spaces. Obviously, not currently, but still in some countries and in some areas in our planet, women are having a hard time. Um, and it is Spiritism who came and brought the strength and the freedom to all these women. And we are just going to touch a little bit in each one of them. And we just select a group of them. There are so many, many more. But just for the sake of time and the didactics, we are going just to see a few of them. So we would like to start with this quote by Leon Denis. For many centuries, women have been relegated to a secondary role, as I mentioned, despised and excluded from priesthood, for instance. They were constrained by a restricted, frivolous, and superstitious education, and their most beautiful aptitudes were constricted and belittled, obscuring their character. And this is Leon Denis, and this was wrote in 1903. So we are talking here long time ago. And however, this reality is still here. But we also would like to have another perspective of why it is important to have this conversation, and it's Jesus' perspective. Oh, let us go back. So here we have Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene outside of Jesus' tomb, waiting with hope. And it is so interesting how Jesus gave women at that time a different place in society. So this was intentional to have the messengers of his resurrection, as it is called, the Catholic Church resurrection, to have the messengers that they were women. Because the most important part of Jesus' message, obviously, is the message of love, the message of we have a Father, not a vengeful God, right? But the fact of the eternity of the Spirit, we don't die, right? Just the physical dress, the physical body, but what is really alive is our spirit, and that's the main message. That's the point. We are spirits. We are eternal spirits with a lot of possibilities. So he wanted for that important message to be communicated by women. And he say, and this is from the book Good News from Humberto de Campos and the medium was Chico Xavier. That's why even the most unfortunate women have in their hearts the divine seed to redeem the whole humanity. Their feeling of tenderness and kindness will be, in all times, the great guide for the illumination of the world. Because without the treasure of the feelings, all works for human reason will look like a castle of splendors. So when we have our, as spirits, and we have our internships, our experiences in the body of a woman, we have a different experience, right? Some of us, we go to motherhood. Some others, they need to take care of a ill parent. Just biologically speaking, going every month, to the cycle, that creates a different perception of the world. And the emotions are more in the skin, let us say like that. And that is going to create balance between our rationality and our emotion. And that's why Jesus say in all times. Also, we don't remember right now, but it's Joanna, the book, Joanna de Angelis mentioned that the love of a mother is the love that we can compare with the love of God. It is so unconditional, it's sacrificial, it's about renunciation, but not because I have to, but because I want to, right? So that's the psychology and I'm very shallow. We're not talking here about psychology in general, about women. So from here, we're going to see what happened with women and Spiritism, right? So we have the precursors. And obviously, we have Mother Mary, of Mary of Nazareth. This is a psychograph painting that Chico Xavier brought, and obviously, the name of the author escapes to us, but it's a psychograph painting. So we know all Mary of Nazareth. We all know her devotion. What, however, one of the beautiful facts that we found also with Umberto de Campos in the book that we mentioned before is she went to live with John, the apostle. She went to live, in a region in Greece, and it was like a small hut in a mountain, and they have the vision of the ocean and the sea, and it was nearby a path or a pathway, and a lot of travelers, day in and day out, they were there, and they stopped by Mary and John's house, just to get water, just to rest. However, John, he was committed with the church in different places, so he traveled around a lot, and Mary was by herself for a long time. So she took in the visitors, she took care of the visitors, she spread the word of Jesus. Um, she healed some of them that they were coming ill, and everybody stand called her the little mother. The little mother. Do you have this ailment? Oh, go to the little mother and she can heal you. Are you frustrated? Are you in pain? You have a moral pain? Oh, go to the little mother. She can comfort you. And she was doing this, and that's why from the tradition, this tradition is we call her the mother of all of us. The thing was, one night came a traveler, and it was raining like last night, even worse. And it was raining and raining, and he was all soaked wet. So she opened the door, and he said, "Can I stay here, stay the night?" She said, "Yes, yes, yes. And let me dry your clothes and give you something new. I have something to eat for you." And the traveler was very tired and very kind. And she felt that she knew him, but she couldn't remember where. So many faces, from these travelers. And he was very kind and sweet with her. And they were sharing this humble meal when she recognized it was her son, Jesus. And they just embrace, and she's in such a joy. And Jesus said, "Mother, I came to take you back to the spirit realm." And she said, "Okay." So they spent the night talking, and then she got tired. She got very, very tired, and she needed to lay down. And she fell asleep. That was the way Mary of Nazareth discarnate, falling asleep. She fell asleep. Her spirit is detached from her body, and her awareness is so great that she detached. She's with Jesus. She didn't get by the uh, she was aware. She didn't get by the how do we call the moment when we discarnate and we are kind of numb confusion state. Thank you. She didn't have any of this, and she had a request. She said, "Before I go to the spirit realm, there are so many brothers and sisters in suffering." And she asked Jesus if she could go to Rome, to the Roman circus, underneath, when they have all these Christians for the next day, to go to the arena and kill them, because she could hear their crying and their lamentation. So it wasn't only Jesus there in the spirit realm, it was a very large crowd of, we can say, angels or high evolved spirits receiving her. So they decided to go to Rome. They were there. It was all these Christians suffering in anxiety with faith, but just the night before you're going to be killed is not easy, even if you have faith. So she comforted everyone. And she found like a 12, 13-year-old girl. She was crying and crying. So her spirit embraced the girl, and the girl had the inspiration of singing. So the girl starts singing praise to God. And the next person and the next person. So all the group starts singing praise to God. And all the good mentors that were there, because the incarnate group changed their state of anguish of their mind, they were able to support them in that moment so they don't feel really anything at the moment of discarnation. And after that, Mother Mary also have another request to go and see her beloved Galilee. So they went back there, and she had the pleasure to see her home. And then she went up to the spirit realm. And she's the first Spiritist woman, if we can say it, if we can put it that way. We continue with Mary of Magdala, who has a beautiful story. We just want to come to the end of her life when the disciples, they decided that they needed to go and spread the gospel, right? And they were in pairs, etc. However, at the time, it was dangerous for a woman to travel, even if she was with a group of guys. So it was dangerous. And also some of the disciples, they didn't like the idea of traveling with a woman. That's the truth. They couldn't um, totally accept Mary of Magdala as one of the disciples. And she stayed. She stayed in Galilee. She was in a home. She was helping, serving. And then one day, a leper came to the town, and all the town was like rejecting him. You need to go, leprosy. But Mary, she did approach him and say, "You know what? Where are you going? I can walk you there. I can be with you. I can be your friend." The leper was surprised. "No, don't touch me. Don't approach me." And she was like, "No." The leper was actually to a leper colony outside of the town. So she walked him there, and she found all these suffering souls in body and spirit. So she decided to stay there. And the very last years of her life, she devoted herself to the lepers. She got, um, she was contagiated, and she discarnate of leprosy. But she took advantage of that time also spreading the teachings of Jesus that taught that we are eternal spirits and that we don't die. We continue with the medieval time, 15th century, Joan of Arc. One of the we think it was a very cool fact, very nice fact that we found. Um, but let me check who was the journalist. It's probably in the spiritual journalists. Um, oh, we didn't. Oh, yes, Umberto de Campos, of course. He's a journalist in the spirit realm. So through Umberto de Campos, we got to know that Joanna of Arc was the reincarnation of Judas Iscariot. So Judas was the one who betrayed Jesus, and we put quotations, because he actually was thinking not to soul his master. He was thinking to expedite the revolution. And when he noticed that he basically received a payment to give Jesus to the Romans and to the Pharisees, he rejected that payment. He went and threw the coins, and he couldn't take it. He couldn't take it. He knew what was coming. So that's why he had this moment of desperation and darkness of the soul, and he commits suicide. And during the 3 days, so remember that it says like Jesus discarnate on Friday and the resurrection was on Sunday. During these 3 days, Jesus went to the spiritual plane in which Judas was, totally disoriented, totally confused, totally in pain. And Jesus was there, calm him down, very tender, very sweet, and put him on a state of sleepiness. And well, we know all of us, we make mistakes and we have the opportunities in new reincarnations. So here is Judas in the body of a 12, 13-year-old girl in France in the 15th century. And she had vision. She's a medium. And she had the vision of Saint Margaret, Saint Catherine, and the Archangel Saint Michael. And they are telling her that she needs to lead an army to liberate France from England in a war that was called the War of the 100 Years. And why Joan of Arc is part of this story? Because she was a medium. And because she brought all the knowledge and that she had as a Judas directly from Jesus to her current life. She communicated with the spirits very easily. The thing was that after she helped to liberate France and to put someone else in the throne, she was judged by the English court. She was captured and she was judged and she was burned on the stake. And because she was so elevated, she was only 19 years old when she passed away. Her body didn't burn. The flames didn't touch her body. And she was in such a state of detachment at the moment of discarnation that she didn't feel anything in the body. And the good spirits and the good mentors, they were there. And we have another Joanna de Angelis, our beloved Joanna de Angelis. We have a lot of books from her. She had also several reincarnations as all of us, but she was Joan of Cusa at the time of Jesus, and she got to know Jesus, and she wanted to follow Jesus, to go with the group, from town to town. And she had this husband that was working for the Roman Empire, and he was very grumpy and kind of mean. Let us put it that way. It was a difficult marriage for her. And Jesus told her, if you want to follow me, go back to your home and stay with your husband. And then they have a baby, and the baby grew up, and Joanne of Cusa, taught him about the teachings of Jesus. Her husband died. She was in a wealthy, good social position. When the husband died, she's with nothing. So she has to start working as a servant for her former girlfriends, you know. And she openly spread the teachings of Christ, and she said, "I'm a Christian." So then she was caught with her son, and also they were tied they were tortured, and they were asked to renounce to their faith, and she was no, and the son was, "Please, mother, yes," denying Jesus, and she was, "No, I won't." And then she came as a Clare of Assisi, along with St. Francis of Assisi, that was formerly John the Evangelist. And after that, she's Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz in Mexico, a brilliant scholar. And then she comes Joanna de Angelis, and we know the amount of books that we have, her teachings every day, her prayers. So they're the precursors of Spiritism before it was called Spiritism, but they already put a foundation as a woman. Now we're going to mention some Spiritist women. So obviously we have Amélie Gabrielle Boudet. She was Kardec, the beloved Kardec wife. And we're going to talk a little bit more about her if we have the time, but she was the loving companion of Kardec. And she endured a lot of difficult situations because she was coming from a wealthy, well-educated family. She was a specialist in the arts. She was an author. Then coming to live with Professor Revile, it was a life of privations. It was a life of deaths and challenges. And when Kardec discarnated, she was 9 years older than him. So she was already like a senior citizen when she has to go to a trial because they were saying that they were publishing a fake picture of spirits, and the name of Kardec was stained, the name of Spiritism, and everything she endured with stoicism. Then we have in Spain, Amalia Domingo Soler, 1835 to 1909. We forget to mention Gabi. Amélie Gabrielle is 1795 to 1883. So what happened with Amalia? Amalia didn't get to know her father. Her father went to a war, never came back. So it was her and her mother. And Amalia, since she was very little, she has this problem with her sight, almost becoming blind. And at the time, a woman didn't receive a formal academic education. However, the mother, very bright woman and well-educated, she decided to homeschool Amalia and provide her with all different knowledge in math, in literature, in science. And the mother also knowing that the limitation of Amalia about her sight, she was concerned. They love each other dearly. They truly were like this, how do you say, like a twin souls. They love each other. So Amalia was around her 20s when her mother passed away. And Amalia found herself with no family, with no money, with no home, nothing, and almost blind because her sight was coming and going, coming and going. Their far relatives told Amalia, you know what, just go to a convent. but she wasn't convinced about it. It wasn't for her. And some other relatives, they say, you need to get married, Amalia, because what are you going to do in your life? And they introduced her to a 80-something guy, wealthy, but she wasn't in love with him. So she said, no, I'm not going to accept that. So she started just working as a seamstress and trying to do some jobs here. She even had to go to the public charity that at the time it was very humiliating. She found herself almost begging on the street. She was so desperate that her soul became bitter and in pain. And one day she was in front of the door of a church and she sat by the stairs there and she said, I don't have any reason to live here. I want to die. And then is when the spirit of the mother came and said, paraphrasing, no, my child, there is no time for you to go back. You need to learn to endure this, but you have a greater mission in this life. Don't do it. The situation was that she started going to this specific church, although she didn't feel aligned with the ideas of the church. But she went there trying to find some comfort. So a lady noticed her and she said, you know why I see you coming here almost every day. And I also noticed you're having difficulties with your eyes. Molly said yes. So this woman recommended her a doctor, eye doctor, that was also homeopathic doctor. And the woman said, go there. He won't charge you. Amalia went there. The doctor started doing the treatment for her eyes. And the doctor, he was, how do you say, he pronounced himself atheist. But somehow I started talking with Amalia because she had a bright mind. They were interchanging ideas, etc. And the doctor say, have you heard of these crazy people that they call themselves Spiritism? And they have this book, the book of the Spirit's book. Have you heard of them? And I'm like, no. Oh, they meet on this day at this time. And Amalia was like, okay. So it was so interesting how Amalia enters the Spiritist movement in Spain. It was through an atheist doctor that later became a Spiritist, but that was her entrance to the Spiritism. And then she became a prolific pen, a prolific medium. She received letters from deceased people that want to communicate with the loved ones, bringing comfort to so many, not only in Spain, so overseas. And she decided that the position of the woman in the Spain society needed to change. And Spiritism opened this door for her because she learned that she wasn't a spirit, not eternal spirit, not just a woman or not just a man, but that she could do everything that a man could do in their time. She got good friends that helped her because she still had problems with her sight, and although she was trying to work, it was very hard for her. So she lived with friends that host her. She never had any property on her own, but she always had a place to lay her head and always food in front of her. So she helped to grow and to shape the Spiritist movement in Spain until nowadays. Her spirit mentor was Father Germain, that also has a beautiful, wonderful biography. We move to Amelia Rodriguez in Brazil, 1861-1926. So she was a renowned pen also in Brazil. She was a writer, a playwright, a journalist, a poetess. She was a teacher, and her thought of her ideas aligned with the ones of Fenelon, that we need to educate children and not just to instruct them. So through her pen and her mediumistic writings, she also helped to shape the Spiritist movement in Brazil. And we're going to celebrate a little bit here because there are several women and we see the time is running. Here in the United States, we have the Fox sisters, Leah, Kate, and Maggie in 1842, when they are still hearing all these rappings and all these movements. You know, the three of them, they truly were ostensible mediums. They have communication with France too, but they helped establish spiritualism here in America. Unfortunately, they were taken as entertainment, and they travel on different cities in America as an entertainment, and a lot of people discredit them as a mediums. They say that it wasn't true, etc., etc. But it was a foundation. We have our beloved Ivone de Amaral Pereira in Brazil from the 1900s to 1984. She was coming from a very humble family. She was a seamstress and a very prolific medium. And one of the interesting facts that we found about Ivone is that she suffered from catalepsy. So when she was 20 days of life as incarnated, she has the first episode. And everybody was like, oh, it's in the 1900s. You see, baby die. Okay, let's bring the coffee. Let's do the view. Everything, they put the body there. The mother was desperate. She went to another room. She kneels and starts praying, please don't take my baby. And all of a sudden, she hears the baby cry. What is this? At the time, they didn't know it was catalepsy, right? So when she was 9 years old, she has another episode. And later on in her life, it was frequent. So when he had the episode of catalepsy, it was basically she used the time to go to the spirit realm and to collect all the information that then she wrote in her books. So yes, technically she died because the spirit detached from her body. And then she collected, she remembered, because that's one of the things, all of us, we detach from our bodies at night, right? But we don't remember, or we recollect a silly dream. Well, she recollect everything. And she was a prolific pen. Then we have the beloved Dr. Marlene Nobre, 1937 to 2015. And what she did, she created the first medical spiritist association in the world, not only in Brazil, but in the world. And Dr. Marlene Nobre also was a well-known lecturer. She also is the author of several books. And she was a great promoter of studies that relates Spiritism and medicine. We moved to Colombia, Montoya de Martinez in Colombia from 1925 to 2012. I personally have the honor to get to meet her in her home and then in the Spiritist Center. Very strong character, and we will say almost like a stomber. Sorry, Señora Colombia. But this strong character also gave her the possibility of giving a new life to the Spiritist movement in Colombia. The Spiritist movement in Colombia started around the 1900s, but it wasn't strong. It was like a here and there. So then she gets to know Spiritism. She works with her husband, that was a mayor from the army, and we call him Mayor Martinez. They work together. They start at home like everyone, and they found the Círculo Fuerzas Amigas, the mm, friend friend force circle of friend forces that this year, this is their 67th year. So what happened with Mrs. Colombia is uh, she was the first person in the Spiritist movement and say, hey, we are so isolated here. There are a lot of good lectors and the movement in Latin America is growing and we don't have any relationship with them. So she was the one who established these international relationships in South America. And she was the first person who brought Divaldo Pereira Franco to Colombia. And then these relationships start to strengthen with the Argentinian and Spiritist movement, Mexico, etc., etc. She was an author, a beautiful and great medium. She had these family reunions that is a specific set for a mediumship session in which people is in a circle in a room, but there is not only the spiritist workers and the mediums, but people from the public, and they call it family reunion because they were discarnated spirits. Let's say Janete, um, someone who discarnate your nephew come through the medium and start talking to you like we are talking right now. And I have the honor and the privilege to be in these meetings when I was a little girl. Just a note aside, I thought that the room was full of people when in reality it was like some incarnates and some discarnates. And I was like, oh yes, Auntie Paulina is there. I told one day to my mother, and she was like, Auntie Pauline is deceased. I say, no, it's there. And then she came and communicated. We have the Spiritist Woman in Puerto Rico. This is a beautiful, great book. And there is a video also about the first Spiritist woman in Puerto Rico. Several of them illiterate. However, as a mediums, they produce a lot of books. They found newspapers. But one of the most important things of the Spiritist movement in Puerto Rico, it gave a voice and a vote to women. So they were very socially active. They were very after trying to get this the vote for women. They were very diligent in relation with justice. So the Spiritism give them the opportunity to seek for their rights as a woman. And there were several of them. There are at least 10 of them that they founded, and they expand and solidify the Spiritist movement in Puerto Rico. So the book is Mujeres Espíritas en Puerto Rico, Spiritist Woman in Puerto Rico, but the book is also in English, but Dr. Clara Roman Orio. And the video you can also, if you Google Spiritist Woman in Puerto Rico, you can find the video also in both English and Spanish. And we go to Sueli Caldas Schubert, our sweet Sueli Caldas, from 1938 to 21. The way she discarnated actually was during the pandemic because of COVID-19. So she was a faithful servant of Jesus. She published also a lot of work. So if you see the common area of all these women, that even if they didn't receive a formal or academic education, it was through their pain, through the writing works that they did all their work, let us put it that way. So that's the importance of the writing word. And nowadays also is important, right? It's important to read and expand. So Sueli Caldas, let me check my notes. Okay, so she expanded the Spiritist literature, national and international, and she was known as the Lady of Mediumship. Uh, she was a very strong, ostensible medium. And then we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of anonymous women all around the world working hard in Spiritism in silence, just to bring the comfort and to bring the light and the hope to so many other spirits. We believe that Spiritism, in the moral part, it brings a lot of hope, because if you are undergoing a trial, a suffering, a problem, an obstacle, knowing that is something temporary, knowing that it's just a blink of an eye in all the years, in all the eternity that we have as a spirit, it is easier to endure. Knowing that all these trials that we have is because we either need it, because it's a consequence of our very own actions, it also brings to us a lot of hope and a lot of desire to keep pushing. Um, we are very, very close to the time. We're just going to bring some facts about Amélie Gabrielle Boudet, because she is the first lady of Spiritism. Let us put it like that way. So she was born in Thiès, we don't know French, 1785. She was educated by her mother, who was an artist, and her grandmother also was an artist. And they were family that have the possibility to send her child to school. So Amélie Gabrielle, she went to school and she became a teacher, and she learned the Pestalozzi system. So Johann Henry Pestalozzi, uh, his idea, or his main idea, is thinking that everyone can learn, and every single child has the right to learn and to be educated. So Amélie is well known also as a teacher, poet, and plastic artist. She published 3 books, and then she started working in the Technical Institute, where Professor Rivel was the director. And they get well along. They're good friends there. She collaborates with him in the projects of the Institute. They fall in love. They got married in February 1832, and she was highly criticized because at the time she was 37 years old, basically an elder woman, because currently elderly is 80s or more, but at the time, if you are 40, oh, you're done. So marrying at 37 and marrying someone that is 9 years younger than you, so she was severely criticized, but she was kind of immune to that. She was very focused in her academics. She participated with Professor Rivelli in campaigns to, how do you say, to prioritize elementary or primary school to all children and to make it as an obligation. So they campaigned for them. And then in 1835, the Institute falls in bankruptcy. So they both found themselves without a job. Professor Rivalli started working as an accountant, but they have this love for education. So they provide free lessons during 5 years to different children and youth. And she changed her name from Madame Rival to Madame Kardec on 1857 after the publication of the Spirit's book. So she was very involved and she was working hand in hand with Kardec in the research and in the collection of the information with Kardec, like working as a pair. They opened the door of their home to many people. So besides her duties as a wife, she also needed to attend all these people, but she also respond or reply most of the correspondence that Kardec was getting. And also she was traveling with Kardec all around different cities and places. And we want to read this from the very own pen of Kardec. He said, "My wife, who is neither more ambitious nor more interested than I am, fully agrees with my points of view and has supported me in the laborious task, and still does so, sometimes beyond her strength, sacrificing without regret the pleasures and distractions of the world to which she was accustomed by her family's position." So he recognized in Gabi the true partner of his life. And he knew how Gabi was accustomed a certain standard of life. And now with him and with Spiritism, they don't have that luxuries. So Kardec discarnated on March 31st in 1869, and Gabi was 74 years old. And she received so many condolences, not only from France, but from outside of France, that she got the strength and she found the Society for the Preservation and Continuity of Kardec's works. As we mentioned before, she needed to testify in the legal process of the spirits. That was a very painful time for her. And then she discarded in 1883 at 87 years old by a home accident. She wake up, she get out of her bed, she lose a little bit of balance, so she falls and she hits her head with the nightstand. Thanks God, dear friend of her was there and took care of her body. But on the next day, it was a mediumistic communication from San Antonio de Padua, and he described the beautiful welcoming of Gabi in the spiritual world next day. And then 5 days later, through the medium E. Corduri, Gabi communicated a message followed by Kardec's message 5 days later after her discarnation. So she then went to this perturbation period. So in 1890, because Madame Kardec, Lemaire, that was a good friend of them, and other workers, they published the posthumous works. And we want to conclude the presentation with this quote: "The supreme acts of a woman generally remain ignored. They don't see the light of the world's admiration because they are acts of the private life. Far from the eyes of the public, they are motivated only by love." And this is by Samuel Smiles. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Halba about any of the work she presented today?
Or comments? It's okay.
I thought that was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
It is just amazing how many of the works have been done by women, and I hope that, of course, men do work as well, right? Kardec and Jesus. Jesus came in the body of a male, but he was supported by a group of women. So I hope that today's conversation and explanation by Alba inspires us to celebrate the women that we know today that are in the works of Spiritism, such as herself and Jeanette. That when we meet someone who is doing well, we go and help them ignite their work. So as women, we should push and elevate each other, in these works. And even in the U.S., the majority of the groups are led by women. And the work is done behind the scenes, even if there is a male speaker that gets a lot of attention. But we shall, it's like you said, Jesus was the perfect balance of male and female. And we never know while we come back next life in a different way.
Yes.
We're so grateful for
Thank you so much to all of you. And I hope this is teasing you just to go and Google whoever you like from the group of this woman. This was just a teaser. Thank you.
So what we're going to do next is we are going to pause our recordings for those who will watch this later. And if they want to come to the passes and prayer, they will join us next time. So that's what